I realized the impact of having a gym once it was taken away. There was like this massive hole in the DC community. I became more aware of how little I knew. The most successful, I'd say 30,000 that month. Is Jimmy a wizard?
What's up, Parkour Gym owners? It's me, Jimmy, and I'm here with Nathaniel Revelas in his new Parkour Gym, Modus Crucis in Washington, D.C. In this episode, we're going to walk you guys through how we helped Nathaniel design, get the lease, open this gym with a founders club. So he started with members within that first month. What happened there? We helped set pricing. We helped train the team on how to do sales. We launched a marketing campaign. All of that from the day we started securing the lease all the way up to right now. That's what we're going to talk about in this video. Nathaniel, welcome to the Motion Mentors podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jimmy. I first found parkour when I was probably like 13, like officially the word parkour. But, if you consumed enough media in like early 2000s or like even the late 90s, you've seen characters like, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Or, me and Jimmy were talking about Code Lyoko, right? And just shows, or Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man's a classic one, right? You see these characters and they're moving in a specific way and they're about a specific thing, like this athletic, acrobatic movement. And you're like, wouldn't it be cool if that was possible? And then YouTube comes around and you realize, oh gosh, there's something like this. And then it just kind of sinks in and takes over you, really. Primal Fitness was, I think, one of the first parkour gyms in America. It was in Washington, D.C., also known as American Parkour, right? A very classic because it wanted to stamp that, hey, this is what American parkour is like, Yeah, I actually saw Mark Turok early on, M2, back in the day, when he was doing tutorials, right? So it was probably, let's say, around 2011, 2010, I was watching some of his stuff. And I was always like, oh, let me copy it. But, I never wanted to go out and like do it because I thought parkour was still kind of scary. So yeah, it was like one of the first parkour gyms in America. It helped a lot of people like Frosty, Knox. It even had like Dylan Baker on the tribe. I had Jimmy as well on the tribe. It had Travis Graves. It was a lot of like these big names on the East Coast that eventually moved to the West. And so, yeah, it was a huge kind of like cultural center of parkour in America. And they would hold like these international events called Beast Coast. Very iconic. There's so many videos of Beast Coast. So many people congregated around that, all to just do parkour. And I came to DC. It was more like DC, Maryland, because I was coming to college here and I was studying pre-med. And my girlfriend at the time went to Howard. So I was like, we're going to get as close as possible. And I found out that American Parkour was here. So I was like, oh, well, that's great. I've never really been to parkour gyms like that. This is like one of my first parkour gym experiences. Some beasts were here when I got here. So I got here around probably like 2014, 2013. Some monsters. We had people like Sam Blattner, if you know, Justin Freever, Jeremy Titano, these guys who really kind of put DC on the map because they were a product of American Parkour, all trained under Travis. There are videos of them like these tiny kids just learning parkour and doing it. And so I didn't know about that before coming here. I more like learned that after the fact. But training with them, I was like, what were you guys doing all these years? Like, were you like, I don't know, in a parkour army or something? No, these guys were some serious athletes. And, I think it was Vinny Coriel. Vinny Coriel, he actually came to DC. I think he made a video of the DC community. And I was like, all right, so they've always been vicious like this. And, and obviously Vinny was also super vicious. Yeah. So then one day Travis was like, hey, would you like to work here? And I said no, because I was really busy with school. And Haitians have a thing. If you are doing school, you are not working, right? And so they will literally just fund your entire life. It's a massive privilege. But I realized that work kind of helped discipline and balance me. And I was like, you know what? I would like some money on the side and I'll say yes to Travis. It was one of the best decisions of my life. Travis was such a good head coach. I really helped guide me on how to teach, gave some great advice. And he's just a really good leader along with Mark. And yeah, I think that was in 2017 when I did that. And then the gym closed down in 2021. And when it left, there was like this massive hole in the DC community. And everyone was asking me to kind of make up for what the gym kind of left. And I realized the impact of having a gym once it was taken away. And I realized what it did for the community and how many lives you got to touch when you were in there. And that's something you just couldn't have known unless you like really went through it. And yeah, I had a lot of kids that were from APK that I used to teach that continued with me after the gym closed. And one of them is a coach right now. The other one, he's in college right now, but he comes to coach when he comes for the summers. And I really built like a family through APK's connections and a lot of people that are supporting me now, especially in the opening of the gym. Like it's been so valuable.
All right. Yeah, I remember going to Primal Fitness a couple times back when I was on the tribe, and it was a ton of fun. You know, they had like, it kind of looked like this downstairs. You know, it's like more warehouse, more boxes and stuff. I think most people actually spent more time upstairs in the smaller room with the bars. That was just, for some reason, like that was really where the heart of the gym was. Yeah, it was sad to see it close. Okay, so then after you have all these students, you're teaching them outside. A lot of those students ended up here in the gym with you now. Tell me about that period where you really decided, okay, I want to start working in my gym. What was your vision for it? And what happened between then and reaching out to us for help?
So I think I really decided that I wanted to take something like this full time, like around like end of 2021, beginning of 2022. And, you know, I was going to quit my job and be like, yeah, I'm going to go full time with this. But they actually laid me off like 2 months before I planned to quit. And I was like, oh, well, cool. Let's just go as hard as we can on this. And it was like a ton of uncertain times, right? You're just building your business from like scratch. And I obviously had some students beforehand, but I was like, all right, well, hey, if I'm going to open up this gym, I need a loan. I'm going to work for 3 years, trying to make as much money as possible and become eligible for these loans. And I think it was around the third year where I found like Jimmy, and I was like through Motion Mentors, right? And I think it was because of the parkour business owner chat on Facebook. And, you know, Jimmy posts a lot of content there, super informative, super helpful. And when I was watching his content, I became more aware of how little I knew. And like, I was good at coaching and I'm good about like parkour philosophy. But when it comes to like running a business, you know, in my like 3 years of doing outside, it was just one big learning curve. There was so many things you just don't know. And, you know, Jimmy had a good reputation. He had a good head on his shoulders. And so I was like, yeah, you know, this makes the most sense. And so almost immediately, I kind of knew that I wanted to sign up with Motion Mentors, especially you guys work with people like Seth Ruji. And, you know, I know him personally. So I was like, oh, I mean, I love Swift Movement. Why wouldn't I want to, you know, work with someone who Swift Movement like kind of verifies as well? So I think a lot of the decision was wrapped around your seat in the parkour community, and your face was familiar. I've watched Jimmy's parkour for years as well. You know, the parkour community is like one big family where you guys can kind of just see each other grow over years. And so, yeah, I do even remember your daughter's mother. She came to APK a couple times, and I was like, who is that? And then when I realized you guys were taking pictures, I was like, dude, the parkour community is so tiny. Like, we all got like, it's so funny. Like, I kind of met someone affiliated, like associated with you closely. Yeah. So I don't know. Very interesting. So yeah, it was so many connections. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I would go with Motion Mentors before literally anyone else, I guess. So
yeah, it is a small community, and it's super cool that you knew me as a parkour athlete before knowing me as like a parkour business guy. You know, I think if you first see our content and you first see me or Christopher as like, this is how you run a gym, business, you kind of lose that. Well, actually, Christopher spent, you know, 17 years, but both of us like going hard at parkour. And yeah, you're totally right. I met my baby's mama here in DC when I was on Tribe here at a jam. It was at Beast Coast. Yeah, I was at a jam. So I was here jamming. Yeah.
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, man. So that was fun. And I'm from California, so it's like, cool. You're way from over here. So, okay. So you worked those 3 years, you got your loan, you're getting all the things in order. When you reached out to us, you did not yet have a lease. You were still kind of wondering if you were going to do an SBA loan.
Yeah.
I believe you ended up doing a friends and family instead. We can talk about that a bit. So let's talk about like any insights you want to give into like how you actually got that money from friends and family, and then what happened when we started negotiating the lease for this building, because it, kind of came with some of its own challenges.
There's a lot of, let's say, luck, fortunate circumstances that occur in business, especially when you're trying to achieve a goal, and things outside of your forces that kind of collaborate. I just want to say that first. So my first plan was an SBA loan. And when I got to my 3 years, because usually the requirement is 3 years of business and like steady income before they invest in you. But it's not that simple. Many of the SBA stuff are just the government subsidizing banks to give out loans. And so those banks have a deeper requirement than what the government generally says. And so it might not be as easy. They might say, hey, you need this specific credit score, which is like probably like 20 points up. And Jimmy gave me a lot of good tips on how to increase my credit score. Credit's doing great now. But when we first talked, it was kind of like a little shoddy. And so yeah, the credit requirement was a hurdle, but then it was also some banks like had different earning requirements, right? Before they actually loan to you. So that was really difficult and really stressful because I had this one track in my mind on like how I was going to obtain this money. And it just didn't go how I planned at all. But then randomly, I think it was sometime when me and my broker were having a conversation about where we wanted to go and like what spaces we wanted to choose and stuff like that, where my mom randomly texted me, hey, do you need help with your business? And I just never thought to ask my mom or my dad. I was just gonna kind of like just bare knuckle it. And I was like, yeah, sure. And it turns out my mom had some investments that we just didn't know about. So I was like, do I have to call things off with my broker? Do I have to call things off with Jimmy? It was like a bunch of uncertainty. And yeah, we just did not have a really clear vision. And then we got the funding. And I think I told Jimmy, I was like, hey, we're ready to go. I just have to get the lease. And then I want to start, right? And you were like, hey, we could start before you obtain the lease. But you gave me the flexibility. And so I was like, okay. Then it was a fight to get the lease. Once I had the funds, it was a fight to get the lease because they promised me a spot literally like 3 doors down. And it was like probably abandoned since 2020, right? And it had some issues, but I was willing to like fix it up, invest in it, and build a gym through it, right? And hopefully get lower rent because of it. And he held me there for probably like 3 months, I'd say. 3 months. And, Jimmy was like, hey, how's the lease? And I'm like, still waiting. And then he hit me with the switcheroo and gave me this current space that we're in, which is actually way better. So it was worth the wait because that space would have taken so much time to like really build out. And so once we got in deeper talks of the lease, he was trying to get a tenant out of this space so he can get us in. And that was tricky because nothing was guaranteed. Everything was more gray and shoddy. And even Jimmy was just trying to help me figure this stuff out. Like what actions can I take? And, I remember your advice. You were like, either be patient or get another space. You're like, you have those two options. Just sit there and wait, let him control the flow or get another space. Right. And I was like, I'm about to have a baby in like 2 months. Like there was high degrees of stress, high degrees of like uncertainty. And eventually things came through. We got the key and we just started building this place up. We built the gym in 2.5 weeks, just speed building, 12 hours a day, no breaks. Like maybe on the weekends we would go teach so we can still make money. But like on the weekdays, I wasn't doing anything besides building the gym. And so I had like some students help me. Like so fortunate. Like if I could tell you how things just fell into place. One of my students, he's in high school. He had a whole week off, just a whole week off. And his mom was like, hey, I'll let you spend 12 hours a day with Nate just building this gym. And his name was Rowan. He just helped me. I was like, whoa. And then another college student came back and he was one of my students. He was like, hey, I want to help you just full time, just 12 hours a day. Just help me build this place up. His parents were lending me tools. We had other parents lending me tools. Some parents came in and did some like labor. My wife, who was, I think, 7 months or 8 months pregnant, built like our rest area, like our rest station, for the parents to sit at. And she designed a lot of like the more softer parts of the gym. And then she was also helping measure, cut, huge, about to pop. And she was just hands-on. And so I realized how incompetent I was at building all that other stuff. And yeah, so it was a long journey filled with a lot of uncertainty. And that's business, but there's also a lot of like blessings and fortunate circumstances. And I recognize my privilege in it.
All right. So yeah, going back to the lease, or actually going back to the funding, it was awesome to see you got the funding. And then we, like you said, you wanted to start after the lease. And, not my first lease rodeo. I knew that the lease was going to be like one of the main challenges. So I was really glad that you took my advice and started before the lease. And I told you, like, if the lease doesn't happen, if this doesn't happen, I forget what I said, but it was basically like no risk to you. Yeah. And then when we were going back and forth with that landlord, I remember texting you like basically say this sentence this way. And it was like, I don't know if it occurred to you this way, but like a lot more like direct and forceful than people maybe would have thought otherwise. And that's very much because like, I think your lease had started here technically, but that other business was still also in here. So you couldn't actually come in. So we were working together and being like, Mr. Landlord, we are not paying rent until like this happens. So we gave him clear milestones and boundaries and, worked through like, let's go walk into his office and cause some havoc. Like we showed up, Nathaniel showed up in the office, and you got to do that sometimes. So thanks for letting me help you through that.
Yeah.
And we got it.
Thank you.
All right. And then when it came to designing this place, so we did go back and forth between that building and this building, but it was mostly the same shape. And they both had this kind of like ramp structure behind us.
Yeah.
And kind of the main things that I was helping you with the design, you did the literal, like, how is this box going to look design? But I encourage you to have like wider, more open spaces, put all the permanent structures kind of around the perimeter. You were already going to do modular stuff, but really rely on the modular stuff a lot more. How do you think that, now that you've been running classes in here, how do you think that design change and also like having a dedicated seating area and all that, how has that all been for you since you've been opening?
Yeah, no, it's been really good. I remember my first design, I had builds on the walls, like circulating throughout the entire gym. And a lot of it was thought about because that other space was like longer. So it was like just on the perimeter, but I had only 2 vault boxes in my design. And you were like, all right, well, you need to cut some of that design and make less permanent structures in center. Cause like when I first got here, I think I made 2 walls, big walls here that would have ruined the entire flow here. And I put a bar to lache off of so I can lache onto the dock. And he was like, dude, this looks like a sick place to train in for us. But for anyone who's like not you and I, which are going to be most of your students are not going to be that great at parkour. You need to design your space with them in mind. And I was like, good point. And so then we redesigned it to your recommendations, cleared the open spaces. You said open spaces to warm up in, and we use those spaces a ton to warm up in. And so, yeah, so the design has been going really good, especially for our younger students who are like, they're height challenged. So these things are like massive challenges already. Just the environment almost untouched is a massive challenge. So we try to have the gym cater to those abilities. So yeah, no, it's been really good running classes.
Great. Yeah. So open spaces. And then we made sure we got a parent seating area, a viewing area over in the back. And then that's where your like sales desk is. We try to look at gyms like as if it were a heat map, right? Like what's the value per square foot that we can create in this gym? And at my first gym, we for sure designed it for myself and me and my like good at parkour friends. And we ended up building like the Taj Mahal of wood parkour stuff. And it was like pretty useless, frankly. We tore that gym down and rebuilt it with our lessons learned. But once we kind of like discovered like, oh, you actually need like a certain amount of open space if you want to be able to like have classes that don't feel repetitive all the time, or even just like your parents being able to see the class. That's huge if you want to like have an after trial class membership conversion of something you need as a gym. So yeah, you took our advice really well, and it looks super fun. You know, there's like a lot of like Kong Cat cool stuff, a lot of wall play, and you can build like a whole floor's lava gym. You know, like the whole way around.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So nice job on that. That was fun to help you through that part. The next thing we did was the Founders Club. A Founders Club is when you know that you're about to open a gym. What a Founders Club prevents is when you open the gym with 0 members and you have no members month 1, maybe 2 members month 2, maybe 3 members month 3, and you're just losing money. That's what I did when I first opened my gym. But a Founders Club, it's like this big marketing play that you do in the 6 months before you open the gym. You give a really crazy offer, like for the if you're a founding member, if you sign up today, you get all this extra perks. I'm going to ask you what you did for yours in a second. And the idea is that on day 1 or within that first week, you start with hopefully enough members to like already be covering your fixed expenses, if not more than that. Maybe you can even get profitable if you do it really well. So that was a big thing that we did. We got you a web page, helped you made the deal for it, helped you kind of orchestrate how do we talk to these people and then how do we get them to sell, get them to buy on that first day. So what was that whole experience for you? Tell us what your perks were, what the sales day was, and if you're comfortable sharing some of the financial result coming out of that.
Sure. Yeah. So like Jimmy said, Founders Club was super essential. You should not try to open if you don't have one of those. So we had a weird circumstance because I was trying to like rush my opening. I think I remember you advising that we slow it down a bit, maybe like delay a bit. He's my mentor, but I was like, look, I'm a little desperate. So I just chugged through. And so I think that especially if you listen to Jimmy, the Founders Club will be even better for you, but it was still really good for us. It came with this like Founders Club membership where, hey, you're locked in, your price doesn't change. And it came with free summer camp, I think free birthday party. And it also, like if you compound that with the quarterly billing structure that we also had, we gave a perk of like $200 plus of value. And that was like a killer. Like it was absurdly successful how like that structure and how it plays with how people perceive worth and value. And so, yeah, I think we launched the Founders Club option, or we advertised it maybe a month before opening. So Jimmy said, hey, get 2 more months, right? My goal was 120 people in the Founders Club. I think we got like 110. So we got good numbers. We had an ad that Jimmy's team designed and it worked really well, but you also need to like stay on top of a lot of those leads, contact them and give them updates and stuff like that. So if I had more time, I could have done an even better job. And I guess now I should move on to like how things panned out when our opening. Yeah. So Jimmy, I think he gave us some training before opening, me and my wife. She was super pregnant. And I was like, okay, after Jimmy's training, which was really informative, really good method. I really appreciate the role-playing methods that we do. We went straight into the belly of the beast after the gym was ready to go. First day opening, a lot of people that I've already worked with just came, but then there were a lot of new people that were from the Founders Club that came. And so it was this open house where we were just running parkour classes every hour for like 5 hours. And that day, using the sales method, I think we got 20 memberships that day. And so that was on a Saturday. And then the Sunday, we got like 20 more, right? And it was just sale after sale after sale after sale. That weekend, plus maybe like if you add the Monday and Tuesday for some people who went home to think about it, which Jimmy tells us to try not to let that happen. But there are some people who just, either due to our lack of skill or they just went home and they thought about it. And so like, let's say, but they still experienced that Sunday and Saturday class and we're on the Founders Club. I would say that we probably gained like 30 to 40 members within like 2 or like subscriptions. We got 30 to 40 like subscribers, which is, either through class packages or memberships. And the bulk of them were quarterly billing. The bulk of them, which is when Jimmy said, yeah, do this payment that on its face looks way more expensive, but it's actually the same price as like if they just paid month by month. And yeah, just do it. I was like, all right, I believe in high pricing. Me and Jimmy agreed with that. But the quarterly billing, I was like, Jimmy, that's too high. But I mean, this man is successful. So I just said yes. I just said yes. I was like, okay, sure, whatever. And we did it. And I didn't think that it would be the most successful. People would even buy the quarterly gold package. And I would just look at my wife and like,
How much is that?
that's $1,050 just upfront, just for 3 months. And so, yeah, I just sat there and I was like, what? Is Jimmy a wizard? I was like, I didn't realize I walked into Hogwarts, like, no, it was crazy. It was crazy. And I couldn't believe the success. And I think I was really busy on the grind that month, just really trying to keep up with everything and the influx of people. And a lot of these people were reoccurring, but then a lot of them were on the Founders Club. So it was like a new kind of balance that I was trying to strike. And I think it was probably like 2-3 weeks in. That's when I hit you up and I was like, oh, by the way, we made this much. And you were like, wow.
How much was that?
I think it was like 30,000 that month. It was pretty much absurd. I've never seen that much money into an account. I don't know, that just didn't seem feasible to me to do so early on. And it really did set a good precedent, allowed us to run payroll, allowed us to hire some new people, which, comes with its own strain. But like, if you're ever going to grow, there's going to be some strain. So
Nice job, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Very cool. All right. So yeah, you wanted to open ASAP. So that was like 1 month of running the campaign.
What?
We recommend like 6 months of running it.
Yes.
I
was like, you should delay that.
but you still got the results that you needed. This isn't like a massive space, which is a good thing. And so what you were able to generate off of that, and you tell me, like, does that cover your rent?
Oh yeah.
because our landlord was playing the games on us with giving us the space, we have a really good rent abatement deal, and our start on rent was a little bit delayed. And so that was already awesome. But then like how much we made it so that we could save so much, and we could like use those funds for maybe like buying like more mats, right? Because we didn't start off with that many mats. Yeah, it easily covers rent. It easily covers like utilities, internet, everything for the space, our CRM. So when it comes to like the business bills, it's not an issue at all. And it helps me support my wife and my newborn baby who's 3 months now, and myself. So yeah, no, it's been more than enough. I think as we're growing, I'm like, we need to see more people. But no, like what we were given, especially in the beginning, just kind of made it so that business was a joy. There was no stress. We were making money. We were seeing people, and we obviously want to grow. And that's why we're still working with motion mentors. But yeah, at the time it was perfect.
All right. So we also helped you set those prices, and especially the quarterly option where they pay you. They're paying for 3 months, but they pay you up front. So your quarterly gold option is $1,000.50, right? $1,050. So, if you're listening at home and you're charging like 125, 130, maybe even 150 for your membership. We're here in DC. I don't know if you've ever been to DC, dear audience member, but it's this kind of funny mix of like all the different classes of income all kind of compiled into one. We have like low income on that street, higher income on this street, normal families like a couple blocks over. So you could totally make the argument that this is not a place where you would be able to successfully charge like $1,000 to your average person on day one. Tell me about that guy yesterday. Before we started recording, he was telling me this because he was excited. What happened there?
So we spent 4 hours that day just working with Jimmy in the morning. I went home, took a nap, and I had a class around 5. And so I was preparing for that class, and only 2 people signed up for the class, but then there was a third person. And I was like, okay. And this third person didn't pay, but I've seen them before. I was like, okay, well, that means we give you your trial fee and stuff like that. But it seems like you guys forgot to pay. And it was a father with 3 kids, but they're all from like separate households. So he was just kind of chauffeuring the kids around. And I was like, yeah, could you like communicate to the parents that they need to pay for the session? And he was like, yeah, she's been meaning to buy a membership, but yeah, I'll mention it. I was like, okay, cool. And so the end of the session happens, and I was like, hey, how'd that go? And he was like, oh, you should have gotten a notification, but we bought the gold package. I was like, what? I was like, yeah, that parent that you've never met once? Yeah, they bought the gold package. And like, it was just kind of like flabbergasting because like we spent all day training and doing sales. And like, me and Jimmy were rehearsing like for hours along with my other sales team. And we just made a sale on the gold membership with no effort, no negotiation. And it was kind of crazy because many times people would think that, oh yeah, my pricing's too high. And so it discourages people. So I have to work really hard to sell them. And with almost no effort, someone just bought this package. So don't underprice. I think I was watching one of your videos. You said that like people will buy the value they see kind of thing. So really value is in the mind of the one who's beholding it. If they see a bunch of value, then they will pursue the value. But if you come off of someone as low value when you sell, very low pricing and you don't really provide something of quality, then people will just treat you like that, But I truly believe in parkour. Parkour's changed my life. I see all the benefits it has for me. I've been training for years. My body's stronger than ever. My mind is strong, and it gives me the courage to do things of high uncertainty, such as open a business, right? And if that happened to me, why wouldn't I try to offer that to your child and to you guys? Like, I'm not giving you just a trampoline park, right? Or a youth soccer team that he's going to drop when he's in high school. I'm trying to give you like a trait that should, endure through time. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You never want to like look around and be like, well, what are my competitors charging? Oh, they're charging 130. I'm going to undercut them. I'm going to do 125. It's a great way to be stuck. A great way to feel like you're always struggling. And when we were doing our sales training, I shared with you that 1 out of 9 Americans are millionaires.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And that guy who walked in and just dropped the gold membership, easy as that, like maybe was one of that.
Probably the high school, they were like, oh, that's enough.
Yeah. They also could have just been like a normal family, but they really get that investing in their kids early is important. Yes. So there's those two groups like really make your gym, and then those families end up being more committed. They stick around for longer. You have a better chance to impact their kids' lives or their lives if the adult is paying. Yeah. So
could I add one thing?
Yeah.
So I think taking your advice and then implementing it has kind of taught me about human nature as well. Like, there are certain types of people that do certain types of things. And many times when you price yourself really low, you do invite the person who isn't too non-committal sometimes. And that could be like cross class, right? That doesn't just come from one class. And someone who just wants to dip their toe in it, but like not really commit. But I realized that our gym, it has a really high retention rate. It attracts people that, and I don't just mean in the gym, like even when I was training people outside, charging like $45 an hour, I've kept a lot of those people. And it's a personality. It's a certain type of person that pursues something for a long period of time. And when you price yourself low, you actually invite a non-committal type of person. And after experiencing it, and seeing the trend, especially through your modulars, right? Like with the avatar, right? Your own, who's your avatar? Who's the person who's buying from you? It was literally the same person. It's almost like they were just clones of each other. I was like, whoa. And then I thought about who I was and who me and my wife are. And I'm like, I guess I would be that person, right? So yeah, it's very interesting. And there's a lot of human psychology and human nature factored into sales. And I think you really have your finger on the pulse.
Yeah, so your avatar is like a single unit of your target audience. For my gyms, we say that our target audience or our avatar is the motivated parent, the parent who really cares about investing in their kids, where my gym is mostly a kids gym. Most gyms are. And so really having an idea of like, okay, this is my parent. These are the people I'm serving really helps you just like create your offer and create your value around that. And then you can charge appropriately so that you can train your staff, so that your gym actually works. You just had a baby so that you can actually have a family. Congratulations, by the way. On that note of baby happening, that was like right after you opened. You welcomed your daughter into the world. Very cool. And frankly, like that's what I did when I, I had my gym and then, 11 months later had a kid. So I really get you, man. It's tough. It's tough. And when I showed back up, looking at your CRM, because you're on the Motion Mentor CRM where we're organizing all of your leads so that we can actually call them. Notice that you had a lot of leads, ton of leads, and we just haven't been calling them. But you had a baby, so I understand. And a huge focus of the last few days I was here was, first of all, when we're in person, here's how you sell to someone. Say this, describe parkour this way. don't do this, this, and this. Here's if they say no because of price, or I got to talk to my spouse, or playing other sports, say exactly this. So, we worked on all that. And I think you're good at in-person sales. You've already proven that. So for you, I think the next thing to dial in, so that you're already sitting on your Founders Club members. Now let's rock it to the next stage. And that'll truly come from operating that slice of your business like a call center. And you have, these 50 leads waiting for me. We're going to call all of them today. Tomorrow, we're going to call all the ones again that didn't pick up. The third day, we're going to call all the ones again that still haven't picked up.
Yeah.
And so we talked about the scripts, what do you actually say on the call, what to not say. We talked about, we are in the computer system. We even got it on your phone because there's an app for it. We talked about how do you do the touch outs, call, email, and text, all three of those every single day. And, and what it takes. And we were talking about how we want to get your salesperson who also did great with us the last few days, some dedicated shifts every day of the week where they are just focusing on calling, which leads to getting bookings, which leads to getting trial class people to show up and actually buy a membership, right? And it's those inputs that if you're not putting those inputs in, it's unreasonable that you would grow. You wouldn't, But if you do put those inputs in, it's now unreasonable that you won't grow. Yeah, exactly. So that occurred to me as your big old next step. And as you have people coming in for their trial classes, you get to launch and use your sales skills that we've been practicing. Yeah. Cool. How has the CRM and the system of you mentioned earlier that we set up your marketing ads. We made you a video. Yeah. So you have leads coming into your system and they're dropping into your CRM. Tell us about just your experience of the CRM. Is it easy, medium, or hard to actually contact people, keep them organized? What's your belief in that, that's a good or bad tool for a Parkour Gym?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about a CRM until Jimmy told me. And I was like, oh, I've been doing business wrong. The CRM is super useful. It is something that you kind of can't do without. The way it organizes leads, the way it organizes your contacts and gives you a way to approach it is something that I don't know of any other software that can do that. I mean, maybe there is no other software that can do that, right? But yeah, the Motion Mentors CRM is the only one I've really experienced. But when I'm sitting down to make calls, I just know what to do. It's out in front of me, especially with Jimmy's training that we had, especially in opening the gym. You rehearse it enough, it just becomes about doing it and making sure you have actionable steps like follow-ups and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah. And to be clear, there are tons of CRM softwares. The one that we have, you can find it if you go to crm.motionmentors.org. When you sign up for it, you get what's called a snapshot. It's we've built this free kind of Parkour Gym configured version of it. And then when you sign up through that link I just gave you, it creates you a duplicate. So you automatically get the same pipelines that we work with, that how yours is organized as new lead, contact 1 through 4. These people are interested. These people are booked. You get that automatically and you don't have to set that up. And then a lot of those automations that happen, when someone is automatically added as a new lead, all that is already in there. So that's plus, if you need help, I can jump into it and work on it with you, which is helpful. Yeah. So that's why I would recommend our CRM in particular, because I know how to use it. I know how to help you with it. I've already set it up for you. Yeah. But a CRM, a client relationship manager, is just any software that helps you organize and contact your leads. There's a bunch. There's some really cheap ones that I don't recommend. There's some extremely expensive ones that I don't recommend. And there's a couple in the middle that are cool. And that's different than your gym management software, which is also technically called a CRM, but I like calling them gym management softwares. That would be your Zen Planner, MindBody, Pike 13, Wellness Living, whatever. Some people are just using Wix for it. Yeah, you could use Wix. There's a couple gym owners that just use their gym management software. But I like having a separate sales CRM that's for your leads, that's for calling and texting. And you can call from that software. You don't have to use your personal phone, which is really important when you have an employee. It's
yes,
it's legally dubious to make them use their own phone or their own kind of any outreach attempt system. And then if that is in tandem with your gym management software, now you can kind of, this is the in-gym business, this is the attraction business. You can kind of see like the different components of your business and how they all work together, at least in the digital space.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And then as you already have other coaches, as you like get your whole coaching staff fully established and you don't have to coach, you only coach on the weekends, I think right now. Yeah. If you ever wanted to, take your wife and kid on a vacation, first of all, do that. But second of all, like if you needed to run any part of your business remotely, you could, because it's CRM, you do that remotely. You have your people in the house that you have trained. We have systems and software to like keep them accountable to what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. And like I said, now from this point forward, it's just you have a sales team person making sure that they are doing the work during the hours, keeping your eye on the ads so that you are getting enough leads, keeping an eye on how many of those leads actually convert into a booking, and then how many of those bookings show up and then become a membership. And then that's kind of where like the continued mentorship happens. It's like, how do we get from this level of membership to this level of membership? Once you grow your membership, there will be a churn percentage, like just people cancel. That's the unsolvable problem of a fitness business is you can't really make churn go away, but you can mitigate it. You can make it better. You can extend your length of engagement. So that's kind of like the next chapter. And I don't know if you have plans on expanding or not. Not that any gym owner ever needs to. Actually, 1 gym works really well, I think. 3, where I'm at, is kind of painfully complicated. Don't know if I even recommend it yet. But you can really set yourself up to like be able to go and travel, be able to come here and work it, have a team that runs it for you, and have a totally profitable gym in this space and be like really authentically contributing to the kids, teens, and adults of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Any last bits you want to say or any advice you have for the gym owners listening?
Follow your dreams. If you feel like you want to contribute to the world in this way, I would just lean into it. Everything will conspire in your favor if you work, and I think we live in a time now where we kind of hyper focus on finances, and it's not as if finances aren't important. But the thing we do, we have to find worth doing, because like we're more than just, automatons moving through the world, trying to eat, sleep, have fun, right? We also want to be fulfilled. So Motion Mentors has helped me follow my dreams and my passions in something I truly am convicted toward and believe in, because, our disposition on the world will determine how we can even serve it. So if you're resentful of where you are and you think that, hey, I could be doing something better, like maybe opening a parkour gym or working in the parkour spaces in general, go for it. And then figure out the business element of it, right? And someone like Jimmy has been able to do both, right? He still trains pretty hard. I watch his stuff still. And he runs 4 businesses, right? Yeah, he runs 4 businesses. And so you don't have to make that trade. Parkour is still alive in his heart while he's also expanding his businesses and works super hard. So you don't have to make that trade. You can pursue your passions while also, making money, right? But like they don't have to be separate, right? Because at the end of the day, enjoying what you love to do is actually way more important than a check. So yeah.
All right, Nathaniel Reveles, thank you for letting us help you with opening Modus Crucis. I've had a blast. Looking forward to watching you guys grow here. And gym owners listening at home or anyone just curious about a parkour business, head to motionmentors.org. We've got tons of free stuff. Like actually right on our homepage, we have like a 127 page free document that really kind of lays out a lot of the fundamental things I would have you work on in your gym anyway. And that's for free right now over at our homepage. If you haven't seen our book, we have a new book, The $1 Million Parkour Gym, also on our website. So tons of free stuff. Go check that out. Grow your business. If you need help implementing any of that, me and Christopher Hollingsworth are here to help you guys get your parkour gym business to the next level. All right, Daniel, great working with you. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem.